I do think that there's something that I love in each costume, but I do think that there's one that's near and dear to my heart and it never made it to the road. I am Annalisa Guthrie, otherwise known as Anna Ixie, and I'm a designer.
What got you into design? How did you get started?
I think I've always wanted to be a designer. I was very much always into the arts as a kid, and I always was drawing clothes when I was younger. And once I got to university, I kind of had an opportunity to see like what field of design I wanted to be in, what types of design I liked particularly. And I think I just kind of took it from there, you know?
So what design did you specialize in? What did you gravitate towards?
Mainly costume design. I do love avant-garde fashion, but I know that there isn't a huge space here for that. So I try to incorporate as much of the two as possible. I mainly specialize in Carnival, and I mean I do costume design outside of Carnival, but obviously Carnival is a huge business here.
Nice. What was it like getting that big break?
I mean, I think it's kind of bittersweet sometimes because it's like you're toiling a lot to kind of finally get that moment. And then I think when you do get that moment, it's like it's a mixture of feeling grateful, but also feeling like it might not be real, you know?
How long have you been designing costumes now?
I would say maybe over 10 years.
And what has that journey been like for you?
Hard. Very hard, very challenging, and people think that when you design it's, you know, the talent is one thing, but talent is probably a very small portion of the entire thing. You have to network, you have to speak to a lot of people, you have to have the business sense, you also have to kind of know how to navigate the disappointments, and you know, just it's a whole whirlwind of being it's like you're an entire company in one person. So,
wow. I know it's gonna be a hard question for you. If you could choose one of your favorite
oh
costumes.
God.
You must get that asked all the time.
People ask that all the time. I do think that there's something that I love in each costume, but I do think that there's one that's near and dear to my heart and it never made it to the road.
Wow.
Because of Carnival. So maybe, because of COVID, sorry. So maybe that's the reason why it ended up being my favorite. Not necessarily because I think it's the best, but because I think it just had something that was, it's sort of like, you know, the words that were never said, or the one that got away, which would be Ixie from Jamaica. Yeah.
So take me now on your avant-garde journey, because I think that's the best way we can describe that.
Yeah.
What inspired you to create magic out of the unconventional items?
I think lack of opportunity, because you know, over the years I've been doing lots of things for clients, and which would typically pretty much only look one way over time. And you know, Carnival I get to experiment, but I don't get to go too far out of, you know, this range, because at the end of the day the costumes still have to sell. Mm-hmm. And I found that like I was sort of in this repetitive state of churning out the same work. And even though I liked it and design makes me happy, I felt like there was more for me to do. And I felt like I just needed to do something that was for me, not for monetary gain, not for fame, not for anything else, just for me saying that this was my body of work and my full level of creativity.
All right, so we're gonna go all the way back, because I have the trajectory of this started out with plaid. Am I correct?
You know what's funny? It wasn't the first video I've done. I would say that is the catalyst for this entire journey of doing unconventional materials, or I wouldn't even say just unconventional, I would say just random things, because it really could be anything. But I had done an outfit before, quickly before an event. I think that was maybe last year or the year before, and that was well received, but I didn't do much with the fact that it was well received. I kind of just went back to my regular work.
So for us, I don't know, what material was that?
No, I was using fabric,
right?
But I had painted on the fabric and all of that. I had upcycled like an old corset that I had already, and then I had to use like a bag handle for an element of the piece, and people really liked it. But I think definitely this series has brought me way into the realm of unconventional and experimental. And I'd like to go further with it. I'd like to be more daring with it.
Did you expect it to blow up like that? Because you did
No.
7.
I definitely did not. The first time when I realized that people were really taking to it was when I did a Christmas piece out of, what is it, Poinsettia? And that one really kind of blew up, and I was very confused because I was just like, this is just a regular thing that I do, but I realized that people really enjoyed that, just being organic and putting my hand to things. And when I really realized that this was a thing was when I did the rope top for my birthday. Honestly, I decided I was going to take a trip to Colombia for my birthday, just a nice reset. Solo trip. I found that like last year was really hard for me, and I wanted to do something again for myself. So I booked that trip, and I knew that I don't know who was going to take the pictures. I booked camera timer and everything, and I knew that I wanted to wear something that I made because I was in this, people hate to say era, but I was in this me era. And yeah, I didn't get to finish it before my flight, and I was just like, you know what, I just take everything with me. And I brought everything with me over there, and I worked on it in my hotel room. You know, you'd think that people would be out enjoying the actual country they went to. When I was the first 2 days, I was just, you know, tackling making it and taking the pictures, and I did not expect the virality of the piece. Yeah.
So you not only that top, you accessorized with the shoes. Talk to me about that.
Right. So before the flight, I was like, do I have enough rope? And I'm just excessive. I always try to make sure that I have more than I need. And I ran to the store before my flight, you know, to try and get more rope, and I'm in there counting it out, and I nearly missed my flight. But yeah, I had all this extra rope, and the top was done, and I was like, what's stopping me from doing more with it? So I just went to town on a pair of shoes as well. And yeah, I think I like the fact that it's just like, all right, you have this extra. Not because you finished that one thing that you had in mind doesn't mean you can't just push yourself a little more.
Love that. Love that. What are 5 words you would use to describe your design style? And this is avant-garde.
So, I mean, many years ago when I was doing costumes, Dania Beckford said to me, she's like, you know, your designs are simple and exquisite. And I think that I've done things now that are more than just being simple, because I think at that time I really wanted to be safe, but I would keep the exquisite. I would say edgy. I like a little edgy in my designs. I'd say daring for sure. Empowering is 1, and I don't know if we've gotten to 5, but I feel like that was 4. I would say the last one might be unique.
Awesome. We're not done on this design journey yet, because they kind of took us on a wild ride with measuring tape. They took us yellow pages, and again, when we thought it couldn't get any better,
Paper towel.
Paper towel. So let's
That's
go.
not the one I thought would have taken off.
Why?
Because, all right, I think it boils down to personal taste. And I think as a designer, or just even anybody who's putting out anything into the world, you do need to remember that there is personal bias, right? So you might love a piece more or feel better connected to a piece because maybe it aligns more with your personal taste, or maybe the amount of time that you put into it. But it's not always a reflection of what the masses will consume.
So which one would you believe out of the 3?
I thought personally that the phone books was gonna be the one. And don't get me wrong, it's funny, it's been on a steady incline, because the ropes was one thing, and then the phone books actually went more viral than that, which is funny because I thought that the ropes was gonna be it, you know, and then went further with the phone books, and I was like, you know, and then I did the paper towel, which to me I felt like the phone book for me was more of an avant-garde design. I felt like it was more out of this world in terms of like the lines and the construction. But I had to realize that that's me. That's what I like. But people also like what they can see themselves in.
I mean, yes, people can see themselves throwing away hand towels half of the time.
Yeah. People that see a phone book in a donkey how long.
Years.
So yeah.
But I think it was, as far as what is untraditional, you trying just making the beauty out from.
Yeah.
I mean, it started out white.
Yeah.
You brought color to it.
Yeah.
So talk to me about that. What was it like designing that particular dress?
There was a moment of feeling a little bit like, one thing about me is once I start something, I like to be able to kind of see it completed, or at least almost completed, so I know if I like it. You know, sometimes when we're in the process, I just love to kind of go all the way in. I don't want to be interrupted when I'm doing it. And for obviously the paper towels, it was a lot of prep. It was a lot of sitting and waiting for things to dry, waiting on like a certain shape to make sense. And I found that like that in itself gave me a lot of anxiety of if it was gonna turn out good or not, you know? And so in that waiting period, I think it kind of took a little bit from me. And, but funnily enough, in that waiting period, I got to sit with myself and my mind got to go wild in terms of the possibilities of what it could be. So I think that's where like the color came in, because it was gonna be white. I wanted it to be obviously paper towels. But then in the process of waiting on this thing to dry, I was like, no, but I actually want to take this as far from looking like paper towels as possible. I wanted people to look at this and say, how did you get that from that?
Right.
Yeah.
So you mentioned a little bit about creative process in terms of having to like wait for the script to dry. What is your overall like general creative process like?
You know, people ask this a lot and I just feel like it's such a weird question for me.
Is there a creative process?
No.
Or do we go by the fly?
I always come tell people something, you know, and it's really like,
give us the truth now.
I mean, it's not that the things that I tell people aren't the truth. It's just that it actually
it differs.
It's everything.
Yeah.
It depends on how much work I have that week. It depends on how I'm feeling. It depends on if I did eat breakfast in the morning. Like, there's so many different things. But one thing I do know, which I've said is a constant, is I never used to like sketching at all. I never used to like sketching, and I still think that I do better with just putting my hand to action. But through this process of being unconventional, because there's just such a wide range of possibilities, and I've gotten so excited about doing it, and I've had so many different ideas. So I find myself doing all 5-6 sketches of just one concept, going back to it, seeing what works, what don't work, mix matching, getting excited, getting annoyed, all the things, and then eventually coming up with one thing and then seeing it through.
What's next for you?
Everything. People always ask this, and I just feel like, let's say 5 years ago, the Met Gala wasn't as huge as it is now. So maybe back at that time, I didn't even think that maybe that was a possibility for me, because it wasn't really something that was in my face, you know? And now it's like, I really want to do that. So I can imagine 2 years from now, something that I never conceptualized or saw, a space I never saw myself being in, being a new goal. So I just want for myself to keep adapting to the times and keep seeing myself in spaces no matter how big. So
I love that. Outside of the viral work that you're doing right now, are there any other projects, initiatives that you're working on currently?
Yeah. I mean, there are a couple new carnivals that I'm currently in discussions about entering, which I think will be a huge win for my career, but not only my career, but I think it will also show a lot of regional and national designers that, you know, you're not confined to just your country. So I'm very excited about those things. And then obviously I'm a production designer separately. I have those things in the works. And there are one or two things that I can't really speak on yet, but they're very exciting, and it feels very full circle actually, those things. So
Nice.
hopefully I get to share them soon.
How do you balance? You have
I don't.
you don't
I don't.
confession time.
I don't.
My name is Annalisa Guthrie, and I don't balance.
It's madness behind these eyes. Like it's really hard. It's very hard because at the end of the day, again, the creativity is one thing. The content creation, which I'm not an expert in, is a whole other thing. Sitting down and thinking about, let's say,
You do a great job at content creating, by the way.
Thank you.
I mean, we don't give ourselves enough credit. It's because it's not natural to us. and
Because
it's
it doesn't
it's
feel
difficult,
natural.
but you
yeah.
do an excellent job at it.
Thank
I just
you.
think we
But
should give people their roses while they're here and let them know that
That's
it goes,
a big thing.
part of it goes viral because of your vulnerability in saying, hey, I have this is what I'm going to work on, this is the outcome. So you're good at it.
Thank you. I think there are many elements to what makes it good. And I think I pay attention to a lot of things that, I mean, sometimes it feels maddening because maybe I'm being too particular or maybe I'm looking into too many things, but I think it sets the work apart. And I think I'm unapologetic about how many things I look into, how anal I am about the elements, like down to the music. You know, I find that if I'm in the gym and I'm listening to a song, I feel like that song makes me feel something, I automatically connect it to the work. I want the process to fit into how that song makes me feel, and then I want to use that song to evoke that feeling in other people when I present a design. So, you know, and then there's the other end of it is just like, you might love that song, but is that song actually appropriate? So it's a lot of those things, you know, to balance and figure out, and just the mentals of consuming so many different opinions online. But I find sometimes you have to be really tunnel vision and really, we speak about delusion a lot in like a bad way, but I think it's actually is beneficial to be delusional sometimes, to just tune out of just what everybody else is saying and just be in your own head and just create from there.
Just dream.
Yeah, just dream. Just nothing is too big.
I love that. Have you ever considered like setting your own line? What was that word? Atelier?
Yeah, it's the first thing people come with when they hear you're a designer. And I mean, I'm not saying no, but I do think that there are a few other things I want to do within the community before I think it's a lot more than the money for me. And I think I just want to create a space in Jamaica where a lot more people can feel represented in the fashion space, because I trust in my talents, and I know that if I want to do a line tomorrow, I can do that, I can venture in that. And I know that if I want to go abroad and do things that are more experimental, I can. But I think there's a big gap here locally, and I believe it's my purpose and my calling to try and expand the horizons of people here that maybe might not feel like there's a space.
Love that. Who were some of your fashion inspirations growing up?
Particular in the fashion space, I would say I love Schiaparelli. I love like Alexander McQueen. I'm very influenced by drag overall, high fashion drag. I believe that like that is the intersection between fashion and costume, because they are very two separate things, but I feel like they intersect where drag is concerned. And yeah, I mean, I think I take inspiration from every last thing around me. And I think the main thing would be I am heavily inspired by this country, by the people, the personalities, how hard we go for even just go dance, and how much we dress up like, you know, dancehall Queen Carleen, the 90s dancehall, how, you know.
It was a production.
It was a production, but also we've influenced so much of the world's fashion, and we haven't really honed in on it the way that we should, you know?
Understood. What is your advice to someone who wants to become a designer but they don't know where to start?
Bet on yourself. I've been doing this for a really long time, and I even found that there were times where I thought I was betting on myself, but I really wasn't going the full you know, and I get it. We're all trying to make a living at the end of the day, and not everybody has the same amount of resources. I do think that I definitely started this from the ground up, and it took a lot of time, but I think in all things, the one thing that brought me through the darkest times was understanding that I have a gift, and I don't need anybody else to tell me that I have that gift. So I just need to trust in myself and always bet on myself, even when everybody else is saying no.